Usually when it starts sounding like that, it's about the time you hear somebody in the blind say, take them. I'm Tim Rupard with Rais Ruckus Game Calls. We're doing a series now of learning how to blow a duck call from the basic quack all the way to finish calling. Step 1 is your basic quack. Step 2 is learning how to string calls in together. Phase 3 is ticka. Phase 4 is learning how to control your hail call. Phase 5 of learning to call ducks is putting those 4 together with number 1s and 2. Phase 6 to duck calling is learning ducks. All right, you have to learn to watch ducks when they're in the air and learn to see what they're doing. If they're looking at your decoy spread and they're flying right out over the decoys and just coming in, you don't want to be blowing in their face. Don't be blowing a hail call and stuff like that in their face. All right, we want to be soft and timid. And if they're right in front of you, the best thing to do is to be quiet. The best thing to wait for is wait until they're out to the sides and they start swinging around behind you. That way any kind of movement is a little bit more hidden by the blind or hidden by your body, and you don't want to be blowing right in their face, especially if you're just learning to call, because a bad call is worse than no call. So we want to work ducks, and so I'm going to go through a little bit of a scenario. By this point in time, you should have a fairly proficient feeding chuckle. Your quacks should be getting pretty solid. You should be able to make long quacks at the beginning and kind of soft and shorter quacks near the end, and we're going to just kind of string that together. If we're here and we're duck hunting together and the decoys are out here and we look out and we see 200, 300, or 400 yards away some ducks flying out, we're going to give them a little bit of a hail call. Let's reach out and touch them. Now, you'll notice when I usually do a hail call and I'm trying to reach ducks that are a good little ways away, I'll even use my second hand. Produces a little bit of a bell, kind of like a trumpet. Really produces that sound and shoots that sound out there to them. This particular call is a double reed call. The swamp things are always double reed calls, and it's going to have a little bit more of a timid hail call than a single reed call. My open water calls really ring and really reach out there and get them. If I was hunting on water this big, I would most likely have a single reed call as opposed to a double reed call. But back in the sloughs on this lake, where the woods begin to get kind of tight, it becomes a little bit more like a real swamp. You know, a double reed call is really, really good for what you're doing there. But so we're gonna, you know, we've got ducks. We're out there, way out there. We hit them with the hail call just like we did a second ago, and they've turned, and we see that they're coming back in a little bit. We want to just come off of that call. We want to start grunting, and that gives us a little bit more of a raspy sound. So you're going to go. All right, so those calls become a little bit more short, a little bit more timid. All right, and sometimes we can point straight down at the ground or straight down at the water. It has the tendency to disperse the sound, be a little bit more realistic. And then we're going to add a little bit of a feed and chuckle to it. Now all I'm just saying is ticka 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 ticka, and most of the time that's about all the feed and chuckle you need. It's very rare that we are in the blind when you really need to hammer on the feed and chuckle and get in there and sound like 4 million ducks. If you've got a decoy spread of about 10 or 12 birds, you don't want to sound like 48 birds. If your decoy spread's 6, you want to sound like 6. 6 ducks feeding with their little bills in the water, and they're looking up and they're seeing ducks and they're kind of quacking at them, are going to sound like this. It's not that big long feed and chuckle that sounds so impressive when everybody really cuts down on it. When you've got 60 decoys out in front of you and you got a big flock of mallards flying around you out in the rice fields or on a big lake like this, or even in the timbers, then you're going to sound a little bit different. Now, feeding chuckle on a real calling scenario, I add a lot of things to it. I'll say goo, 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 and hut, 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 and ticka, ticka, tucka, 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 ticka, ticka, tucka, tucka, tucka. And I mix all those things up together as much as I can to create the sounds that I believe are so prevalent when ducks are actually feeding and doing the feeding chuckle. Right there, I'm just saying tick, 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 and goo, 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 goo. That's my ticka, ticka, ticka. I'm basically going ticka, tugga, 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 and I change from ticka to tugga in those scenarios. You mix all those things up and you get some real good sounds in your feeding chuckle. That's basically 6 steps, and if you've watched these videos all the way through, you should be getting pretty proficient with your mallard call right now. And if you're not, you know, then chunk it in the water. I'm joking. Keep practicing, people. That's the key. Again, I'm Tim Rupard with Rais Ruckus Game Calls, and this is how to blow a duck call in 6 easy lessons. There's no time that you can spend better than blowing the call in the truck, going down the road, practicing all you can. And I hope these lessons have been able to get you to a point where you can call ducks this year. You're not the guy standing in the blind going, well, I'll just wait for everybody else to call and I'll just shoot the ducks. Yeah, it's fun, but it doesn't do anything for you like calling in your own ducks. Great luck, and remember with Rais Ruckus Game Calls, all that's left to do is pull the trigger.